Alright guys, we're going to be working on the special right triangle review today. So to start off with, most of y'all don't have your little pink slips of paper that has the perfect squares on it, so we'll make our own. So we'll go through from 1 to 10. You can always make your own for as far as you need to go. Just remember it's just the number times itself. So 1 times 1 is 1, 2 times 2 is 4, 3 times 3 is 9, and all the way up. Alright, so what we do with this, we're going to take the number under the roof and start with the largest number that's underneath it, that's smaller than it, and divide to see if we get a whole number back. So 48 divided by 36 is a fraction, so that doesn't work. 48 divided by 25 is another fraction. 48 divided by 16. 48 is divisible by 16. So the way we will rewrite this as square root of 16, that was the perfect square that worked, times square root of 3, which was the remainder, what we got when we divided 48 by 16. Square root of 16, 16 is the perfect square, so we will rewrite it as that top number without the square root, without the radical, and keep the square root of 3. So using special right triangles such as the 45-45-90 or the 30-60-90 can make solving problems easier. Remember, a 45-45-90 is an isosceles right triangle, and only in this triangle are the legs congruent. So the first step is to identify if you have the 45-45-90 or 30-60-90 triangle based on the angles, and then we'll label the sides accordingly. So I'm going to write the rules down at the bottom. If it is a 45-45-90, what we're going to do to go from leg to hypotenuse, you just multiply by square root of 2. If we go from hypotenuse to leg, we're going to multiply by square root of 2 over 2. So there's your rules for 45-45-90. It only goes, this is our leg, this is also our leg, and this is always the hypotenuse because it's opposite of the 90 degrees. That's how we label. Alright, so let's label the 30-60-90. This is called the short, opposite of the 30 degrees. That's the short. This is the long. I know they use the L again. I don't know why they do that, but it's the opposite of the 60. That L means long, not leg, long. And as always, across from the 90 degrees is our hypotenuse. So the rules for 30-60-90, we got plenty of rules for the 30-60-90. Short to long is just multiply by square root of 3. Short to hypotenuse is just multiply by 2. Then the opposite direction, long to short, multiply by square root of 3 over 3. And hypotenuse to short is divide by 2. That is a square root of 3 right there. So with these 6 rules, we are able to figure out any 45-45-90 and 30-60-90 side lengths. Alright, so let's do some examples. The very first step is to always check what type of triangle we have. Because these two sides are the same, this is a 45-45-90. This is, we always label our hypotenuse first, opposite of the 90. So that makes this the leg, and this also the leg, because it's a 45-45-90. They gave us a leg. These two legs are the same, as indicated by the 2 tick markers. So our y is 7 square root of 2. To go from leg to hypotenuse, we just multiply the leg by square root of 2. So we only multiply what's underneath the radical, so 2 times 2 is 4, so 7 square root of 4. Looking at our perfect squares list from the very beginning, square root of 4 is on there, and that becomes a 2 without the roof. 7 times 2 is 14, so that's our hypotenuse, our x. This one, it literally says 45, so it's going to be a 45, 45, 90. So that means these two are going to be the same. As always, we mark the hypotenuse first. Because they're 45, 45, 90, these are both legs. So we're going from hypotenuse to leg, and that says multiply by square root of 2 over 2. So we're going to take the 9 times square root of 2 over 2. And a lot of people see fractions and they start freaking out, but remember, we can make anything into a fraction by placing it over 1. And multiplying fractions is pretty straightforward. You do top times top over bottom times bottom. Then we try to simplify. 9 cannot be divided by 2, so this is our final answer for both, because they're exactly the same, because it's a 45, 45, 90. Same thing with this one. This is a 45, so that means this also has to be a 45, which means these two sides have to be the same. We mark the hypotenuse, opposite of the 90, and these are both legs. Well, that makes finding y very easy because we know it's exactly the same. Then we go from leg to hypotenuse, and that says, looking at our formulas again, we multiply by square root of 2. And again, we always multiply like terms for when we work with radicals, the square roots. So square root of 3 times square root of 2 is square root of 6. And normally here we would try to divide like we did with our first example, but there's nothing on our list that goes into square root of 6. So we will just leave it as is. And that's our answer. Okay, this one says 60. Well, that means then this is my 30 degrees. Because all triangles have to add up to 180. We have a 60, we have a 90, which then means this has to be a 30. So let's go through and label. We know this is the hypotenuse. This is the short because it's opposite of the 30, which makes this the long. Remember that L for 30, 60, 90s means long, not leg. They gave us the short, which is the best case scenario because we can work with short and go to anything. So short to long, it says just multiply by square root of 3. And again, we multiply the radicals. And this is on our perfect squares list. Square root of 9 becomes 3. So then that means x is 36. Then we go back to the short. We use the short again because we only have rules to go from short to other people, not long to hypotenuse. That's not possible. So we go short to hypotenuse. So short to hypotenuse. That rule says multiply by 2. Because this one does not have a square root or radical, so we multiply the numbers that are not underneath the square root together. And that just becomes 24 square root of 3. And there's nothing for me to simplify here, so that is actually my answer. Getting to the end. Same thing as always mark the hypotenuse first, opposite of the 90. This one would be our 30 degrees. So this is our short. This is our long because it's opposite of the 60. All right, so this time they did not give us the short, so we start with what they did give us, h, and we're going to go from h, the hypotenuse, to short. Looking at our rules, it says just to divide by 2. Well, 8 can be divided by 2. 8 divided by 2 is 4. So our final answer for our short, which is y, is 4 square root of 3. So from here, we're going to do short to long, because again, we don't have a rule for hypotenuse to long. Short to long, our short is 4 square root of 3, and the rule for that is just to multiply by square root of 3. So this time we're going to multiply the 3's because they're both under the radical, the square root. 4 square root of 9. Square root of 9 is on our perfect squares list. 4 times 3 is 12. All right, excuse me. One last one. Again, we mark the hypotenuse, opposite of the 90. This will be our short because it'll be opposite of the 30. And this is our long because it's opposite of the 60, excuse me. So we work with what we got. They gave us the long, and we have a rule for long to short. Long to short. Long to short, it says to multiply by square root of 3 over 3. Again, people freak out when they see fractions, but there's no reason. We can make that into a fraction by dividing by 1. So we multiply the tops. The only thing we can multiply on the tops are these square roots of 3. So that becomes 9 square root of 9 over 3. And we simplify this. We know square root of 9 is 3. 9 times 3 over 3. And anytime we see the same thing on top and bottom, it's very nice. We just get to cross it out. So that becomes just a 9. That'll be our x. Now that we have our short, we can go short to hypotenuse. The rule for that, our short is 9. It just says to multiply by 2. 9 times 2 is 18. And that is all of our examples. Good luck with the homework, guys. Let me know if you have any issues, and I'll be happy to help you out.